Whether you're a knitter, crocheter, graphic designer, yarn dyer, artist, or anything in between, having a really solid foundation for color inspiration is essential. And so for today's video, I decided I would give you a little walk through my own personal color inspiration library. So if that sounds like just the kind of color therapy you need, grab a cup of something cozy and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Midweek Ramble. My name is Taylor, and I will be your host. Now, as many of you know, the Midweek Ramble videos are usually created from ideas suggested by you, the viewer, and today's video is no exception. A few weeks ago, I received a tip in the tip line over at woolneedleshands.com/tipline that asked if I would give a little information about where I go for color inspiration. Many of you know that I am the hand dyer of Fiber for the People yarn, and as that, it is really important that I maintain a really solid foundation for color inspiration, which I feel like I do a pretty good job of. I also find that being inspired by color is really helpful and just overall generally inspiring as it relates to choosing knitting projects, especially those knitting projects that require more than one color. I also dabble time to time in gouache and watercolor, and finding really great color combinations for limited palette sketches and studies is also really important. Now, there are lots of places to go for color inspiration. A simple walk outside with a camera, going on Pinterest and typing in any search term that might pull up colorful inspiration, looking at really beautiful food recipes, or just doing a Google search. All of these things are great ways to be inspired by color. However, personally, I feel like having a really nice physical library of books to help inspire you with color has a whole another added advantage, and that is the ability to broaden your perspective and your horizons, because we can't always be worldly jet setters. It's hard to get to all corners of the world and find all kinds of limitless color inspiration. But when you crack open a book, you're exposed to color inspiration from all over the place, thanks to beautiful photos and really fantastic stories, putting those two things together to contextualize the photos and breathe life into them. That's why I wanted to focus today primarily on my book collection of color inspiration. And there's a lot here to dive into. And so I'm going to take you on a little walk through each of these publications, and I'm going to be showing you a close-up video of each of them and talking about them here, but that way you can get a little bit more of a peek inside without me having to hold it up for you every single time here. So I'm hoping that that kind of helps to streamline this. Now, each of the books I mention here today will be linked down below in the description box. I highly encourage you to start your own color inspiration physical library. They look beautiful on shelves. They make great coffee table books. They're good to just kind of leave around your house in little pockets of books and color inspiration that you know you can go access if you just need that little boost of color mojo. Okay, we're going to start with the Flower Color Guide. This is right off the top of my pile. This is a book by Taylor and Michael Putnam. They are the duo behind the Putnam and Putnam Floral Design Company in New York City. Now, I didn't purchase this for that reason. I'm not particularly interested in floral design. The reason I purchased this was because it has an entire array, and you can see on the cover here, of solid colors of flowers. I go to this often when I want to dream up some nature-inspired colorways for signature solids for the Fiber for the People shop. Occasionally, I will do shop updates that are all solid colors, and I like to have a nice place to go that I can flip through the pages for natural sources of solid color inspiration, and this is definitely one of those. I will say that of all of these here in terms of visual color inspiration, it's not limited because there's lots of different colors here, but it doesn't show a lot of colors together. So it's not the greatest place to go for color combinations, but for me and for my purposes of using this as a way to inspire solid color collections for Fiber for the People, it worked for me for that. The end of the book actually has a little collection of cards with perforated edges that show the flowers on the front. I don't know if you can see the perforation there. And then on the back side, it gives information about those florals. And that's so that you can pull the cards apart and put them together, and you can see how those florals kind of play together, both the flowers and the color. I have yet to do that with this, but it is a really great option that this book has if you like to play with color combinations and again, you're inspired by flowers. So that is the Flower Color Guide by Taylor and Michael Putnam. Okay, this next book that I have here is a very well-loved book. I use this book often when coming up with color combinations for not only yarn dyeing for Fiber for the People, but if I'm coming up with spaces in my house that I might be putting new, like, I don't know, decorations up or redecorating a certain area, I'll go here for color pairings. If I'm looking for new linens for the bed or all sorts of things, even outside the realm of knitting, I like to go here. It's inspiring. It kind of helps me narrow down the mood I'm after. It's a really absolutely great resource. So this is called Palette Perfect. This is by Lauren Wagner, and I love it. She's a graphic designer and blogger. And actually, the first place I ever really knew about Lauren Wagner was from this book. But this is a place to go for really great color combinations. So if you're looking for a color combination for a color work project, if you're a yarn dyer coming up with a new variegated colorway, if you're trying to come up with a nice collection of solids, this is a fantastic place to go. What I love about this is that she separates each of the sections of the book into these different chapters of different moods and vibes for the color palettes. Let's say you want to really kind of hit a particular vibe with a striped garment or a color work sweater or a weaving that you're going to be hanging on the wall. And that's something I didn't mention enough in the beginning. If you are a weaver and you like to make really beautiful wall hangings, this is a fantastic place to go for coming up with really nice color combinations. But let's say you want that weaving to be fresh or trendy or sporty or mysterious. You can go into this book and find her section on that particular mood and search through the different color palettes that she provides. And I think it is just so much fun. Also, if you like to dabble with sketching and watercolor and painting or anything like that, the photos in here that she uses for reference are really fun to use as reference photos for little, studies or whatnot. Just looking at them now is really definitely making me want to pull out my watercolors today. Yeah, Palette Perfect, Lauren Wagner, and I love it. Okay, this next one is not a visual source of inspiration for color, but it uses story to kind of help inspire you and give you more background into individual colors and hues and shades. And I love it as a really great before you go to bed read for those of us that really love and appreciate color. This is called The Secret Life of Color by Cassia St. Clair. Now, what this is essentially, in addition to providing some really great background on color and how we see color and different facts about color, all kinds of information that you might want to have just kind of in your back pocket as it relates to color. In addition to that, let me just read the back of this one. I feel like it's a little easier to give you the information from the back of the book. The Secret Lives of Color tells the unusual stories of 75 fascinating shades, dyes, and hues. From the brown that changed the way battles were fought to the white that protected against the plague, from Picasso's blue period to the charcoal on the cave walls at Lascaux, from scarlet women to punk's industrial pink, these surprising stories run like a bright thread through history. So this is set up so that you can read little snippets of history and information about 75 colors in little small bites. All kinds of information and stories about each of these colors, and I think that that's so cool. So in terms of visual inspiration and a place to go to be inspired by color, this is a little bit different. Its inspiration is more in the stories of each of the individual colors, and I think that that can sometimes be just as important. So that is The Secret Lives of Color by Cassia St. Clair. I love this one. It's a good one to just kind of keep in your library as an interesting read for those of us that just love color. I find that moods and kind of feelings and vibes are a really great way to kind of start the direction of your color inspiration, kind of give you that jumping off point. That creative direction that we take has so much to do with our emotions and how we're feeling. And so having something that can kind of help us target the appropriate colors and inspire us with colors that fit those emotions, that's really helpful. This is another one that does that. Palette Perfect is a good one for that, and this is a great one for that. This is called the Complete Color Harmony Pantone Edition, expert color information for professional results. Pantone is a really great place to go when it comes to color because it is just this broad spectrum of color for designers, whatever your area of design is. And this is a fantastic one to kind of help you narrow down your color combinations based on like that emotion or vibe. So this has lots of information up front to give you to kind of build your background knowledge of color harmony, color dissonance, color combinations, and all of that. So you get a lot of information up front here. But then as you get past that into the sections of the book that are broken down by kind of like vibe or feeling, you get lots of fantastic inspirational color palettes. They have color palettes for natural or neutral colors. They have color palettes for rich color combinations, subtle color combinations, things that are tropical or urban, really amazing color combinations that bring out those feelings and those emotions. You see them in the form of what looks like a pie chart to kind of give you an idea of the distribution of each color so that you understand that the reason that color combination is as impactful as it is because of the ratios of colors used. If you changed those ratios, you would have a whole different feel to that particular color combination. And in fact, within a lot of these chapters, they have simply changed the ratios of the colors, and it gives you a whole new circle pie chart color palette to choose from, and it hits a totally different note. So I really, really appreciate this as a source of inspiration. I appreciate this as a source of information on color in general, which always helps to kind of not only like broaden your perspective, but just make you a little bit more informed on how to use color. Because I feel like when it comes to using color, we get so stuck on making sure we put things together that harmonize or put things together that look right together, when really sometimes the key or the answer is to put something together that maybe technically doesn't go well together because we want it to have that really great visual impact. And so if you know information about color, if you know how to use color, if you know how to essentially follow the rules, then you know how to break the rules effectively. So having these little references not only gives us that inspiration, but it also gives us that background information that makes us just more knowledgeable at using color. Okay, this next one is just eye candy. The stories in this book, I have not read through all of them because the reason I purchased this was because of the amazing photography, very visually inspiring as it relates to the colors used here. So this is called Patterns of India by Christine Chitnis. I've mentioned this on the channel before. I purchased this as a kind of a means of inspiration for a colorway collection for Fiber for the People about 2 years ago. It says here, after her first trip to India to explore her husband's heritage more than a decade ago, Christine Chitnis began photographing the beauty she saw all around her. Curated into the prominent colors of daily life, this collection of photographs showcases what makes India's northwestern region at once immediately recognizable and diverse. Seeing people in photographs, seeing people doing everyday things is really inspiring for me. My dad always taught me growing up that if I was going to take a photograph of something, to try to incorporate people into the photographs. It makes the photo interesting. It breathes life into the photo. And of course, not all photos have to have people in them, but I do appreciate having people in the photographs, even if it's people that you don't know necessarily. Maybe they're just people walking by or bystanders or what have you. I love that feeling of just everyday life happening in front of you and getting a little look into that. And this does that in such a beautiful way. It gives you not only the look into day-to-day life of people, but people from a particular part of the world that is, very different to the world that I live in. It shows the work that they're doing with textiles and color, especially being a crafter that works with fiber and dyeing fiber. All of that is very inspiring to me, watching other people work with textiles. I love looking at the architectural design as well. Even just the very simple color combinations, things that are very muted and earthy, but I'm really just so fascinated by these photographs. I just love them. I would love to sketch several of these photographs, but it is also a great source of color inspiration. That is Patterns of India by Christine Chitnis. It's a gorgeous one. Okay, this next one is a favorite of mine. I don't know what happened to the cover of this book. I purchased it used from Amazon, and it might have had a book jacket. I don't know, but it is called Ode to Color. It is a beautiful book broken down by color, giving you not only really gorgeous photographic inspiration, but words of inspiration that have something to do with color and design. It's just, you guys, this is a fantastic place to go if you just want to be inspired by color in a gentle and soothing but powerful way. I don't know, I feel like I'm building it up, but I just really love this. It is also kind of broken down by, I don't want to say like mood, but it's more like color vibe. So the different chapters are things like Waterside, Silverlight, Night Shadows, Whisper, Earthly, At Ease, Out Loud. All of these are kind of like color vibes that help to give you that jumping off point for inspiration. And I love that. Now, not only is this a beautiful place to go for visual inspiration for color, like I said, it has lots of these little snippets of stories and anecdotes and poems that are tied to the particular vibe that it's discussing. Really fantastic illustrations, all sorts of beautiful inspiration in here. And I flagged a few of these. I really need to just dive into this a little bit more. So I love this one. This is Ode to Color by Lori Weitzner. This is the best I can do in terms of the cover of the book, but this is one of my favorites. Okay, this next one was recommended to me by a viewer of the channel a couple of years ago when I was discussing how I was building my color inspiration library. And this is one by Hans Blomqvist. It's called In the Mood for Color, Perfect Palettes for Creative Interiors. I believe this is marketed at interior decorators for providing like an overall color scheme for a room. However, it's a fantastic source of visual inspiration for just color in general. I love this, and I really love this as a place to go for sketching inspiration, painting inspiration, but just, overall color inspiration in general. So it is also broken down by mood, and I so appreciate that. It's, I appreciate that more than I realized initially, but it's broken down in dark, pale, into categories such as dark, pale, natural, soft, and bold. And then it gives you kind of, before it breaks all of that down, you have an introduction into a world full of color, and it gives you kind of a background into the purpose of this book and how, the different color themes and sections work in the book. And I love it. I appreciate it so much. So there's such beautiful visual inspiration in here, and it's not even just the colors in the photos, it's the items in the photos as well. Like this photo right here, just this collection of things with that paintbrush that looks like it just has paint dried on it. It's inspiring. I love how kind of out of the ordinary some of these photos are in the different items in the photos. And I love that. Because even if the photo itself doesn't have a ton of color, the items in the photos can inspire color through the mood that they, emit or give off. I love this. If you look really close at this flower here, there's lots of different colors in there, and it's so beautiful. Like this, if you really need, like as a yarn dyer, if I wanted to come up with a new collection of earthy greens, this photo right here would be a great place to go for that. I love this. This is a really fantastic one of those coffee table books. I mean, come on. How beautiful are these photos, you guys? I just like looking through here. And reading all the different snippets too provides you with a little bit more context on each of the photos and why those are, important to the author and how you could use that to help kind of direct your design process. I love this. So this is called In the Mood for Color by Hans Blomqvist. Okay, so this next one is the last of the color inspiration books. And this is called True Colors, World Masters of Natural Dyes and Pigments. Now, the reason I picked this one up was because I wanted to have something not only to inspire color, but to kind of inspire the idea of working with natural dyes and pigments, or just working with dyes generally speaking. Now, I am not a natural dyer, but I have every intention of diving down that rabbit hole very soon. I love the photography here. I love watching people work with their hands. I love watching or looking at photographs of craftspeople, of people that are really just steeped in their craft. And again, people that work with their hands. That just always really inspires me. There's something about hands that appeals to me. And so as much as this book engages me in color, it kind of just engages me with craft in general, and I love and appreciate that so much. So again, what you're going to see mostly here are people working with various different natural pigments and dyes, which is so fascinating to me. But you're also going to get some really gorgeous photography, some really lovely, color combinations just as you flip through the pages. It's broken down by color. So each section will be focusing on a particular color and as it relates to pigments and dyes used to achieve those colors. And that kind of helps to organize your inspiration a little bit. But it is, you guys, just a beautiful book to have. Even if it's just a quick reference, something to get you, inspired, even if you're interested in kind of diving down the rabbit hole of natural dyes and pigments, or if you're like me and you just love to see people working with their hands, watching people kind of participate, in craft and color at the same time. It's just a really great one. This is called True Colors, World Masters of Natural Dyes and Pigments. Color inspiration is always something I am seeking. Not only as a fiber artist, a crafter, a hobbyist, painter, it's just kind of important to me in general. I feel like color feeds my soul and provides that all too well-known color therapy. And I'm sure for a vast majority of you, it does the same. So I'm thankful for the suggestion to share my color inspiration with you, the opportunity to indulge myself in another little dive through my color inspiration library. Thank you so much for being here today. If you enjoyed yourself or took value from today's video in any way, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe and click the bell icon so you can be notified anytime I upload new content here on the channel, which is every Wednesday and every Sunday. Until I see you on Sunday's episode of the Knitting Podcast, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye.